Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are, another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Good morning, Bill.
I think I'm the rookie today.
Why?
I don't know.
We're talking about a different subject.
Maybe. Naomi,
Unknown
how are you?
territory.
You're good?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We were talking about the beach before we got on.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
Pete, not only am I not allowed to go to the beach these days, but I'm not even up to talking about it.
She's not allowed to speak.
I don't even have time to talk about it. Never mind go to the beach.
I'd say we do it in the car, but you're always doing something else in the car even.
Oh, my God. I tell you. Yeah,
I can be sitting with you and can't have a conversation with you. There's no one else around. I have to wait my turn in the car on the phone ringing off and on.
I have deals. I have deals sitting on my desk that I could just do. I just got to call them. I have coaching clients. I want to be coaching clients.
Oh my gosh, it's a good problem to have, Bill.
But I have an extremely, extremely ill wife and a father that's on his deathbed that's in Florida. So that's been consuming all of my time. So, but my dad is better. Spent 3-4 days with him. So here we go. Anyways, episode 105. Wow. We're getting to be big boys, huh?
105, man.
So, constructing and presenting offers so you get the most equity.
Sounds like a good thing to talk about.
You like that?
I thought we were talking about words.
Oh,
did I just? Oh my gosh.
Put your mic closer to you there. No, just turn it this way. There you go.
There we go.
Good. We had to make sure Naomi, you can hear Naomi.
I can.
Because Naomi's got something to say today. I could tell. She's got it all pent up, ready to go.
I already let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah. Constructing and presenting offers so you get the most equity. In real estate, the pot at the end of the rainbow is equity. In this podcast, we will talk about how to easily get lots from your seller. You would think most sellers don't want to give up their equity, or you need to be a slick salesperson to sneak the equity past the seller without them knowing it. In this podcast, you will reveal exact ways to create income and wealth out of thin air and some of the most unspoken ways power investors don't speak of in public because it could hurt the newbie coming into the business.
Hurt the newbie.
Is this show too advanced to go onto the air?
Well, we're going to see what happens.
Let's see. Okay.
I'm going to kind of let it reveal itself. Truth of the matter is, I got about 4 hours worth of sleep last night, and I've been going since last Thursday, nonstop. Because like I said, I was in Florida with my dad, and
not on the beach.
Not on the beach.
In
no,
Florida,
it was far from the beach. Very long, arduous days with doctors and in hospitals. And I spent 3.5 days in Florida in a hospital. My point is that there is no filter this morning.
He's too tired to put the filter on.
I'm just gonna do it. There is no filter. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me because my dad. I mean, it is what it is. He's 78 years old, but the point is there is no filter.
I'm confused. I didn't know there was one.
Oh no, there actually is.
This is the filtered version we've been getting. I'm scared now. Actually looking forward to what comes up.
So Naomi, we might have to do some quality control, some damage.
Yeah,
no,
totally,
I'm thinking, let's see if we can squeeze out of them. Let's go the other way. It'd be more fun.
Keep talking, Bill.
It'll be the highest rated
what else?
show.
What else do you want to share with us?
Did you guys hear show 105? Oh my God.
All right, so let's start off with this. Okay, there's 2 types of houses. I wrote this, so I'm going to just read it. There are 2 types of houses on which you can construct and present offers. There are pretty houses and ugly houses. And I think we've talked about this enough, but I just want to get a different take on it. Okay? If you're If you remember from all the other shows that we've had, I mean, there's been 100 shows. So by now, if you've listened to at least a couple of shows, you should know we make offers on pretty houses and ugly houses. Those are two different categories.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty house offers involve getting the deed, doing an option or lease options, maybe owner financing, which is really different than getting the deed.
Yep.
Okay. So one of you want to explain those, or both of you, so I don't have to do it?
I'll go over the option.
Uh-huh.
And that's the easy one. You can take the more complex one. Mr.
Oh, I don't like that
Rookie.
one.
Go,
I don't like
Naomi.
that one. I like the
You don't
lease
like
option. You do option.
Okay, so I'll do the option.
Yeah.
And that is where somebody, they just want to sell it outright. They don't
Right.
want to wait for payments.
Right.
There is still an option to do an option.
Right.
Anyway, it's not a complete loss. So the seller probably is not so familiar with the real estate market as you are, working in the real estate market, and you can offer to, in a sense, market it for them. But there's a very specific way you have to do it because you're not a real estate agent. So you, in a sense, become the buyer with an option to purchase.
So I was thinking the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just like nailed it in my head the way you explained it. But I was thinking about this the other day. Check this out. If you were to sell your house using a realtor,
Mm-hmm.
do you or do you not assign agreement so that you're the exclusive? So they're exclusive.
Yeah, you do. So an option actually, in a sense, kind of protects the owner even better.
Right.
Because it's not exclusive.
So exactly. So you're jumping ahead, but you're 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
So with a realtor, you sign a realtor agreement saying, yes, Naomi, you are my realtor. Yes, I want you to sell my house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we've talked a lot about what's the purpose of a realtor, which is a confusing thing in our society, right? Because most people think that a realtor is put there as a consultant, and they're gonna walk you through the sale.
And I think some are,
Yes,
but
the majority aren't
right,
capable,
right,
or they don't know how.
right.
They haven't done enough deals.
In fact, they're not even necessarily so knowledgeable about how even to market the house.
Right.
All they think is, let's put it on the MLS.
Which is their way of finding a buyer.
Right, right.
So technically, a
And-
realtor. Go ahead, you had more.
Anyhow, so whereas if you come along and you have powerful marketing techniques that frequently, I mean, as crazy it is, can be more powerful than even the MLS.
Right.
And are able to step in and help that.
Well,
seller.
I think just to your point, Peter and I have a couple houses for sale. He doesn't even know this. We have a couple houses for sale. So they've been kind of stagnant. I got two houses that are kind of like a thorn in my side, right? And they're on the MLS. So last week, 1 week ago today, before I left, I said to Peter, okay, let's go put some of my magical ads on Facebook. Last night, I was fumbling through my text to realize that the realtor sent me a message via text that I have 2 offers that she wants me to review. And what 2 offers do you think they are?
From Facebook?
The 2 houses that Peter and I put on Facebook 7 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 offers within a week later.
Right.
Yippee!
That's awesome.
Well, don't do that because they're not great offers, but
Right.
they're offers.
Yippee!
So to your point, the realtor has it listed and has had them listed for months.
Yep.
We did in the very beginning
marketing.
have contracts, but
Right.
they fell through for various reasons.
Right.
Peter's like, what do we got to do to unstick it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we sat down. I sat down with him. I mean, it took me 15 minutes.
I just sat and watched you go.
I wrote 2 ads on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And within a week later, we have offers.
Right.
Okay.
Was it from Facebook? Do you
Doesn't
know?
matter. Just the outflow
It's
alone.
just
Just
I
the
know. It's
outflow
just
alone.
something about shaking things up.
Yep.
It just does something.
All right. So let's go back. So the realtor
Mm-hmm.
technically brings us the buyer.
Correct.
Okay.
They're not the consultant.
Good. So what does an investor do if he wants to bring the seller a buyer?
they're going to market the property. They're going to do
but
an option purchase
what
on it.
contract does he
So it's
use?
an option. So
that's the point.
That's what we haven't gotten to. We haven't brought this full circle yet.
Yeah.
And so you sign a contract with the seller. You ask them, what price do you want it for? And you need to do research into this. You want to make sure it's market rate, so you're not wasting their time or your time or the buyer's time. And then market it for them.
Right.
Now, because you are coming in as the option purchaser, so you're not a realtor. You're coming in as the purchaser the buyer with the option to purchase, and the contract does have the clause that allows you to assign it to a new buyer, and you market the heck out of it.
Yeah, so the difference between being a realtor and an option agreement is that we're actually getting an equity share.
Yes.
So we become technically part owner of the house, and we can sell the house ourselves, and we don't need to have a license or a fee.
Correct.
But the point I'm trying to make is, I want to make sure that I get this clear enough, is that if you go to a realtor, they use a contract, an agency contract, saying that they have the right to sell.
Right to sell.
An option is an investor's way of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You use an option to lock in the property and say you had the rights to go market this and find a buyer.
Correct. But it protects the seller, even more,
it protects everybody.
Because say the seller, finds their own buyer, okay, not a problem.
Yep.
Whereas with a realtor, if the seller found their own buyer, the realtor would still get a portion of the fee.
Right.
So in a big sense, is more fair to the seller and more effective.
Good. Go ahead, Peter. Lease option.
Well, in a lease option.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi.
Oh, well.
In a lease option, the owner of the home would lease it to the investor, and the investor then finds somebody to lease to. It's like rent to own, somewhat.
Yep.
But you have a price that you agree on the house as a selling price for the house. You agree on some terms of how much the monthly payments would be,
mm-hmm.
and how long. How long are you going to lease it for?
That's the option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
you have the option for
to purchase for that amount of time. That's the term.
wait,
we just
no.
confused
That's
Peter.
the term.
No, wait a minute. No, on the term and how long the lease is.
Yeah.
Why do you say it's an option?
Yes. So the option agreement.
He has only had 4 hours of sleep.
The option agreement clarifies the price,
mm-hmm.
the payments, and how long.
Mm-hmm.
The lease is the occupancy rules. So if you're going to live in the house, here are the rules, and here's how you do it. It does have language in there that you need to pay me this much money by this time.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can't have dogs, and you can't light the bedroom on fire, and you can't have 4th of July parties on the roof, and
mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. So the lease is the occupancy agreement. The option is the money.
Yeah. No, I understand. I thought you meant when I got the terms that was in the option, but the option covers all of that. The price of the house, the monthly terms, and how long, because that's
right.
The buying part. The lease is just a lease. I have one here. I brought
mm-hmm.
for my own devious purposes.
So just
and the
think
lease
of it
is
this
just
way.
a lease, just a lease with a person.
If you're the seller, you're giving the buyer the options to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The option to buy it for blah.
Mm-hmm.
The option to pay monthly until you can get it paid off.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how long I'm willing to wait for this agreement to be executed.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is the reason why I have a course, or we talk about all the time, how do you buy real estate without a loan,
mm-hmm.
is because if you're going to buy real estate within 30 days and close within 30 days, you have to go get a loan from a private lender, a hard money lender, from your bank account, from the bank, wherever you get the money from. You have to go get it,
mm-hmm.
and you have to pay their
fees, interest rates.
Yeah, I was going to try to come up with something a little bit harsher than that, but
there went the filter. But he's so
no,
tired.
the filter's there.
Yeah, but he can't think of it. No, he's just tired because he couldn't think of it.
He couldn't think of the filtered word for the filter.
You have to pay
extortion.
the family back.
The extortion.
Hey, Guido, I need my payment.
Yeah, cousin Louie. Yeah, we have one of those. Like, I gotta sell this house fast. I got guys on my back.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
my
why we bought the
gosh.
house.
Yes.
We don't know if it's true, but it was a good story. Like, I got guys on my back. How much? Oh, I don't want to tell you.
All right,
Bad.
good. So we got
It's
that.
bad.
So yeah, and he bullshitted us and made 20 grand. So, so you got that. So the lease. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you do lease options, or you get the seller to agree to making payments and pay you later, the place you're getting your money from is the buyer.
Right.
So your buyer's coming to the table with the payments. He's going to go get the mortgage. He's going to do all of that stuff within the allotted amount of time that you agreed the seller to have. That's how you buy real estate without a loan, is because you don't get the loan yourself personally. You have your buyer get the loan.
That's right.
But what you do is you contractually set it up so that you have time to do that. Sometimes we get 10 years to do that, right? Depending on the situation.
Yep.
Okay. Now, getting the deed is a little bit different, because what that means is that when we do a lease option, we don't get the deed until we bring the money. Getting the deed, or subject to as it's called, means that you're getting the deed now, like this week. And the deed is in your name. The mortgage stays in your seller's name, and it's much like leasing with an option, except the deed goes in your name. And the only reason why we would want to get a deed in our name is because we want to own the house. Sometimes I want to do it, sometimes I don't. Like that house in Middlebury, we were I completely screwed that deal
It was
up.
a wonky.
But I didn't want the deed in my name.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I screwed that deal up, is because
You really didn't. Yeah.
there was too many issues. Mostly there was a $68,000 loan with the city for rehab. There was no interest, no payments. But as soon as we pass the deed, I have to come up with 68 grand. So
Yeah.
That's a great deal for the seller.
yeah,
No interest, no
Yikes.
payments.
yeah. But sometimes you want the deed, sometimes you don't. What we talk about all the time is if you're going to put money into the deal, if you're going to spend, and I want to clarify this because I was writing emails the other day, doing my emails, and one of the emails I did was I defined a bunch of words. Because I just feel like sometimes I got to do that. And one of the things that I realized is that maybe I'm a little too harsh with something, because there's a rule and then there's my rule. So I want to make sure I clarify that we've been talking about my rule. And this, I think, has affected Naomi a bit. I always say I don't want you to spend any money on a house unless the deed is in your name. Right, that's the rule. That's my rule.
Well, it makes sense.
Would you
real
go?
So what's the real rule?
Would you go fix your neighbor's house?
Well, the real rule is that you can spend up to $5,000, and the reason why is because often you'll get the $5,000 back from when you get the option consideration money for your sale. In other words, your deposit from your buyer. So if you think you got a $200,000 house and you think you can get 20 grand,
Right.
or 10 grand, well, even that's 5%. Say you get 10 grand, you can give 5 grand for the repairs and make 5 grand. But
that still is like
I'm kind of a little bit. I'm kind of
like, what about a land contractor or something? Even like, I don't know.
Well, here's a dumber question. If a realtor comes to a person, they say, "I want to sell my house," and the realtor goes, "Yep, you got to paint that, fix that, clean that up, do this, do that." Don't they do that to them?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
why don't we have any footing to
Which
do
is
so?
why-
Well, and I think we do, which is why
pressed.
we don't do it.
Yeah, which is why I've not pressed the 5,000. But the point is that that's the common thought process, is that you can spend up to 5,000. I prefer not to do that at all. If I'm going to put money into a deal, because we're going to get into this in about 2 minutes here, but
Well, if you don't lease the property, if 90 days go by, 120 days go by, and this thing won't lease,
so
you don't get your money back.
I want to let the cat out of the bag right now.
There's a cat in the bag.
Yeah, there's a cat in the bag. It's in the back room.
It's-
Do you know how you make a lot of... Ron LeGrand taught me this. It is so crude, but do you know how to make the most amount of money in life? There's a secret on how to make money in life.
Give me a pen.
I'm serious. Do you
It's
know
being
what
recorded.
it is? Do you know what it is?
Tell me. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
it's stupid. It's stupid. The saying is stupid, but here it is. Flap your lips.
talk.
Ask.
So the stuff we're talking about right now is about flapping your lips, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so if I'm going to close the guy on a lease option, why don't I just change my words and change my process and say, give me the deed? What's the difference?
Yeah.
If he's not going to give me the deal, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, my first step out of the offer box is, would you sell me a house for what you owe on it? Right? And if he says no, right, I say, okay, would you consider doing a lease purchase with me?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah, it's just.
So all it is, well, why not just do what you want first? And if it doesn't work, then you resort to the other.
Right, right.
So it's just flapping your lips. I mean,
And part of
I
it
got a
too
garage
is,
full of crap out there, and I do have a garage full of crap right now. There's lawn. I was thinking the other day, I don't have a lawnmower in my house. I should probably get a spare lawnmower. And what happens? Pete tells me, hey, we got a lawnmower. The house in Clinton that they're cleaning out that I want to go look at today,
Yeah.
guess what's in the basement?
lawnmower.
Yeah, so now all of a sudden I went from like having no lawnmower to I got like 2 or 3 of them now. Right?
Wow.
Why?
Yeah.
Flap your lips.
So if you want me to buy the house, you'll have to include, look at the TV over here. The TV that I never put up.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's, how big is that? 60-inch TV? How big is it? 50-something inch TV? Whatever it is. Sitting in
it's
the
good
corner
size.
of the office over here that I just flapped my lips and got. And a deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, we got stuff.
Yeah.
Lots.
We always get something.
And now we have
we got 2 more propane
another-
tanks. We got a radio. We got a.
Please check out our eBay shop on.
Yeah.
I got one of those pole saws. Cut things.
Yeah.
People leave things that they don't quite want.
Yes.
With a lot of things you don't want either, but you wade
Yes.
through that.
Yeah.
Some eBay shop.
Okay, so with that said, right? Because what we're covering here is, you would think most sellers don't want you to give. Let me get to you. Yeah, you would think most sellers don't want to give up their equity. So Peter, I want you to talk, not for like 4 hours on this, because I know you will.
I give
Because
short
you-
answers. The
no,
other way.
I
I'll
wasn't.
just
No,
interrupt
I
him
meant.
if he gets a little.
No, I
too-
meant that you have a
a lot to say.
Yeah, like experience with this. Like I don't mean it like you
Yeah.
talk too much at all. No, I'm the one that talks too much. You don't do that. So, just because I think it was a big. When you realize what we're talking about now, that sellers want, that they're willing to give up their equity.
Mhm.
When you realize that, I noticed a difference
Yeah.
in your operating basis.
Yeah. You always think of a house as an asset, something you want.
Mhm.
There are situations when people find themselves, they do not want this house. The best story, I think probably the first time I noticed it, I don't know if I said this before on the show, but we were in Torrington, and there was a guy who owned the house, had a girlfriend. It was his family house. Parents had died, and he has a nice house over here.
Mhm.
And he's like flying to Tucson or someplace with his business once a week or every couple of weeks, and he has a big business here. And in the side, he's trying to get he couldn't. So the girlfriend was trying to renovate the house, a lot of it herself.
Putting tile down.
But yeah, all
What?
kinds of stuff. No, seriously,
Oh,
actually
she was
doing
actually
it.
She
doing
was
the
doing
work?
the renovations
trying to-
because he wasn't around. She was actually putting tile down and
You know, with
trying to
two
renovate
big
the kitchen. And,
businesses, you would think that
yeah,
they
well,
would just hire.
And it wasn't the game plan like, let's rental the house and sell it. It was just like, well, we got this house. Well, I guess I'll go fix it. They just came up with that. I don't know why, but they
they
did.
were A&E watchers.
Oh my gosh.
Thought they could do it in 20 minutes.
They probably watched too many first-time flippers.
Yeah.
Watch Pete and Jesse
This-
do it.
You can't find it on demand anymore. They only go back about a year.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Save your
Mm.
DVD.
So your stardom is over.
Save your recordings, folks. It'll
You
be
just
back.
keep reposting it on your
So anyways,
social media.
The situation was this guy didn't really need the money. It was more aggravation than anything. It was going to cost him money to hang on to it.
Yeah.
It would just be better. Just take it. Maybe there's a $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 equity. He was making so much money that'd be worth it just to get it off his hands. And how do you think the girlfriend in his relationship had become?
Mm-hmm.
What's it worth you to not have your girlfriend, giving you dart eyes? So he said, "Yeah, I'll sell for what it's worth. Take it, please."
Take all
And-
the payments.
Huh? They take away the payments, and I'm just being quiet, going, "This really works." Now you can talk all you want about this, but until
Yeah.
you see some of these, you think this is like, "Oh, that's a nice idea if anybody would do it." These are all things that have been done.
Right.
These are not ideas. These are examples. It has been done way many times. jump in.
Yeah, and I think that people realize that you have to make money. I mean, you can't do things for free. It's a business, you know.
The sooner you tell them that, the faster you can do a deal.
Yeah,
Because they're always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
it's a no duh thing. I think if you go in saying like, oh yeah, it's gonna be, you know,
I'll do this
like
and just
not
break
saying-
even.
Yeah.
I'll just break even.
it's kind of
I'll pay
like
my
no,
workers, I won't make a dime, don't
need
worry.
to make funds here. It's not a non-for-profit.
Okay, so does that make sense?
Yeah, but you're getting paid to solve their problem. The problem that they're
exactly.
having, you're taking that off, and the money you're getting is to take that off their hands.
Right.
So
What's it worth to you?
walking into that conversation you're talking about, how do you find these people? So we've been talking about for sale by owners, we do direct mail, we have a bunch of different ways, but the point that I want to make is that the power investor, you know, the really like hyper investor, the guy that does a lot of deals that never worries about deals because he's always got them hanging around, okay, knows how to pre-qualify. So I have, I don't think it's uploaded online, and I'll probably get flack for this, but I have one that I made for my coaching clients. It's just a little checklist of what qualifies them. So I'm going to rattle through that because that makes a difference. Because if you get the right person in front of you when you're making these offers, it's a lot better.
Sure.
Agreed?
Sure.
So the first thing we want to know is, when does the prospect want to move by or close by? Under 45 days or over 45 days? So obviously under, they're highly motivated.
Yep.
Right?
And they're thinking, can't sell it with a realtor in less than 45 days.
Right.
Can't even close in about 45 days.
Right.
They know.
So is the seller willing to do a delayed cash out? Or as we say nowadays, willing to wait for you to pay them off and make payments while you're doing that? Right? Are the mortgage payments less than 85% of what you can lease for, including taxes, insurance, and condo fees?
That's a big one.
So that took me a long time to learn, and a lot of houses that I didn't make money on.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
I mean, you can always do a slot deal
Yeah.
where you just step out if there's no money in the monthly payments, but you really have to pay attention to that one.
So you're putting a 15% buffer in of a little extra cash on top of what.
Can
Because
make
you might have
15%?
equity, but if you don't have that monthly cash flow,
So
Well, you want
let's-
a little extra in case something happens, something
oh my
breaks, you
gosh,
gotta fix it. You don't want to come out of your pocket to,
I mean, even though
fund a place.
even though the lease really, you know, protects you from that because the tenant buyer is their responsibility to maintain the property, but still, you just don't know.
Right. So on a $1,500 a month payment, that's $225 a month. Right. So I mean, some of the bigger numbers we don't use 15%. We try to, we can't, because you start getting $2,500 or $3,000 deals. It's a little harder to do, but it can be done.
Right.
Okay. So one of the qualifiers that we're talking about is, are the mortgage payments less than 85% of what you can lease for, including the taxes, insurance, and condo fees? Another good qualifier is, did the seller answer all the questions from the prospect suspect form without resistance when you talked to them? One of those questions being, how much do you owe?
Yeah.
Yep.
How much are the payments? How much are the taxes?
A lot of times we do something with the financing.
Right.
How much do you owe?
Right.
If they're stumbling about.
Here's another one that you and I talk about when we're out together,
Yeah.
which lately hasn't been as much as it was in the past. But do you feel you can add value to the property for your profitable and fast exit strategy? So what value do you feel like you can bring to the property? Now, if we're doing a lease option and we're doing subject to, or we're doing owner financing, then our ad's going to say, buy this house, no bank qualifying. That's the value.
That's the value.
Okay. But what happens if we do, like what you were talking about before, an actual option agreement,
Right.
and the house is worth $200,000 and you're going to sell it for $200,000? Why would somebody come to that deal quicker?
Then, according to the training from the Wolf couple,
Yep.
It's got it for a cash deal. It's got to be a cash price.
Right.
So what they recommend is to actually negotiate it down lower. So like say 170,000. Like, look, if you want this to be a quick sale, it's got to be a quick sale price.
Right.
So that's what they say.
Right. So the point that I think you're making here is that if you're going to sell with cash, you have to be below market value.
Yes.
So if you're going to use a cash formula, which we use Mayo, so let's talk about that for a second. That's the first place I ever heard it was from Ron LeGrand. That's maximum allowable offer.
Yeah.
So that means that you take what the house is worth. We call that after renovated value, right? Multiply that by 70%, minus the repairs, and then I do minus $5,000. I used to do 10,000, but it depends on what kind of marketing you're in. And that's the most that you can pay, right?
Yeah.
So when you're giving cash offers, because here's what happens with that formula, and I know this happened to me, and I know at least 2 or 3 other investors this happened to, so that's why I want to talk about it for a second, is you think that that's an ugly house formula. So what happens if you're looking at a house that's worth $200,000 and it's absolutely gorgeous and they want cash? What do you do?
Well, what I just outlined from the Wolf couple.
No.
So you have a different.
No, I'm just saying. Go ahead. So if you have a $200,000 pretty house and they want cash, what do you do?
Yep, take 70% off.
So you use the Mayo formula.
Yeah, it's take 70% off. What renovations? None. Okay, but still 70% off because that's your profit margin.
So that's the same thing what you're saying. So if the Mayo formula might be 140 and your offer might be 170, you tell them if I'm marketing the house and somebody brings cash, I can only pay 140. So what you're saying is that you, and I don't do that. That's actually a bright idea. You get 2 numbers in the house. So if I sell it within 60 days or 90 days for cash, what number will you take? And it's got to be lower than the number you're buying for.
Exactly.
Which is a good idea.
Yeah, it's just having that conversation of like, I need to make money, you know. And
yeah, because the likelihood of finding someone that has an FHA mortgage approval, they can come in and say, I want to buy this house because you're marketing it, you know, no bank qualifying. And they're like, I like the house. I just want to get a mortgage. I'm qualified. Or some people think they're not qualified. Like, for example, they might have a 650 credit score and they might say, I'm not qualified. Well, FHA doesn't look at credit scores.
Right.
So they may have, you know, $5,000 to put down and they might be qualified for an FHA and bam.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's sometimes smart to do a rent to own advertising on a regular home that you're looking to, because it'll attract the buyers that think that they're not qualified.
Right.
Like say it's a $200,000 house. Great thing for an FHA mortgage. But it'll attract all these people that actually
what you just said?
Are qualified.
It's pretty clever.
So you're doing the lease option rent to own, but you're also checking with the people maybe they can get a mortgage?
Well, let me put it in different language. So when I owned an automotive repair shop, the hardest thing in the world to do was find an A, because there was A technician, the best, and then there was B, C, and D technicians. D technician being an oil change guy.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing in the world to find is an A technician. So what we used to do is we used to put an ad in the newspaper, technician needed, will train. And because we put that ad in, we would always drag in A technicians. Because people don't think they're an A technician.
Exactly. Like, people don't understand that they're as good as they are.
They think they're a C or a B technician, but actually they're an A technician.
What? Just out of curiosity, can I understand? Do they get a rating or certification from someplace?
So that's exactly the point. Is that there is a certification program. So you would have a guy that would not have his certs. And think he's not an A tech.
But you can tell, like, no, this guy's good, or he knows what he's doing. Get him
certified.
Well,
what's a good test of an auto mechanic?
Give him a car and tell him fix it.
Right. Give him a broken car and see if they can make it run, right?
So it's the same concept with selling a house. Like, you don't want to do rent to own, but you advertise it as rent to own in addition to, you know, selling the house like you normally would.
So I've never done it, but I would do something a little different there. I would put will consider rent to own. We have to test this. This is a
So
good
you're talking
thing.
about a house that we would sell in MLS, like renovated house for sale.
I don't even think consider. I just think like have one ad rent to own, one ad selling the house, like a regular, and then that rent to own is gonna, because those people are already decidedly, I'm not good enough when they are, and they're not even going to look into like, maybe I can negotiate with them to do rent to own, because that's scary to them. They don't know how to negotiate.
Yeah, that part I'm not sure about, because people don't think I need to find a house rent to own. Mm-hmm. When they see the ad, they're like, oh, that's a good idea. I never thought of that. I could qualify for that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I can't say that I've met a lot of people that will say, they wake up in the morning and say, I want to buy a house. I need to find a rent to own.
No, I don't know.
We would have to split test it. The whole thing of consider rent to own and rent to own. Personally, I think rent to own is more powerful because there's no questions. Is people feel safe. Whereas consider rent to own, they feel like they have to prove themselves. Well, maybe I can talk to the owner. Maybe I'll be good enough to, and a lot of people sadly have very low opinions of themselves, or they have very high opinions of themselves, which are completely unfounded and they don't deserve it. Anyway, back to what we're talking about.
Okay, so so those are the main questions. There's a few others I have here, but you want to make sure that the person you're talking to, the name is on the deed, and you got to ask them questions like, do they owe money to other family members and stuff like that. But my point is these pre-qualifying questions, and I'm going to just rattle through them so we can go back and recap. When does a prospect want to sell or move by or close by? Is the seller willing to do a delayed cash out if needed? Are the mortgage payments less than 85% of what you can lease for, including the taxes, insurance, and condo fees? The next one is, did the seller answer all the questions from the prospect suspect form without resistance when talking to them? Next one is, do you feel you can add value to the property for a profitable and fast exit strategy? So that's the one we were just talking about. It's like, okay, so we can be below market value, or we can add, the value could be rent to own. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes it's just as much as if you get a buyer's list built, right? Mm-hmm. You could put it to your list and sell a house quickly that way too. So we spent a little bit of time on this, but it's because if you pre-qualify and you're talking to the right person, the rest of the show is all about what you said earlier. It's really about magical words, right? So it's the way you say things that make a difference. Actually, before we get to that, what I want to talk about is how we use, actually I skipped ahead, sorry about that. So first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to call a buyer or find somebody that might be remotely interested. Then you're going to go through with this checklist that I just gave you on, are they a prospect or a suspect? And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to obviously make sure the numbers work and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. One of the most powerful tools that I use that I didn't even realize that we were doing it until just a few years ago. I didn't even realize how powerful it was until I started showing you and Jesse and started using it to talk about, is the cost to sell worksheet. Mm-hmm. So you got somebody that's in a house and they want $200,000. Forget about what their loan to value ratio is or what they owe, because it's all about what are they going to accept. Now, they could be completely free and clear, and you have to do a slot deal with them because there's no equity, because they're not willing to come off their number, right?
Some people are stuck on the asking price. They don't do the math to figure what am I going to get in the end. Right. They're thinking asking price, and whatever happens, happens. Yeah. But they don't really have any control over that. But with us, there is some control over that equity, so it's worth finding this out.
So the magic here is that we talk about, and I'm a little bit protective of my cost to sell worksheet because it's a fantastic document. So we talk about how you have 6% for the marketing or for the realtor, depending on which one you're going to do. You got 3% for closing costs. You got 3% for negotiating and 3% for deferred maintenance. That's 15%. That's all well and good, and when you're in a house, you can talk to a customer and you can get them to understand that. But when you actually sit them down with this document that we have, and you say to them, okay, what's your asking price? And let them pick whatever price. They're going to pick the higher number.
Right.
And then you go through like the questions, which are discount, the discounting, you figure out what percentage you're going to use for a discount. And you go through the questions, right? What's the national average for sales price, right? That's for a realtor, right? Closing cost, how much are those? You got holding cost, you got marketing cost, you have, there's the potential of theft, and you have taxes, and, inspections, and contract gotchas, you know what I mean? All these little things. And we go through this form with them, and they do the math.
Mm-hmm. Never touch the paper, never touch the pen or the calculator.
All you do is just guide them through it.
Yeah.
How much you think? How much you think?
And then on the bottom of the form, it says your total cost to sell, and then you subtract from that your payoffs, your mortgages, and whatever you owe, right? And then once you get to that number, it says it here on the form, but it seems most of my coaching clients miss this, so I have to keep reiterating it. Mm-hmm. What I say is, okay, so that's your cost to sell, but I'm an investor. Now what? Mm-hmm. Those are my magical words, but it says here on the form, what do you feel is fair for us to earn to solve your problem?
I think that's, right? That's also very good. That's what I would use.
Yeah. So, it depends. It depends on how you do it and what you do. But the point is that if this number, and this number always comes out to be 20, 30, 40 grand. Mm-hmm. Okay. So at this particular point, you got a $200,000 house, right? So 200,000 times 15% is 30 grand. Mm-hmm. So now what I say is, so if I were to pay $170,000 today for your house, would we agree I'm paying the full price of the house? I'm paying retail.
Yep.
Right? Because that's how much.
They're a little shocked, but it's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's do it again. It's a $200,000 house times 15% is 30 grand. So that means the 30 grand minus 200 is 170. So if you say to them, if I pay 170 for your property right now, I'm paying full asking price, correct? Mm-hmm. And what are they going to say? Because the math doesn't lie.
They just did it. Mm-hmm. They just did it.
And that's when I say, but I'm an investor. What do you think we should do now? And then some of the most confounded things come out, like, I don't know, would you take 150? Would you pay 150? Mm. Or they might say, well, would you pay 169? Mm. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll do all this work for $1,000. Sure.
I think so. Yeah.
Here's the point. And this is the most valuable point. If you can get anything out of this this podcast, it would be this. This is where I learn you always, 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 in case you didn't get it, always. Negotiate the equity, not the price of the house. Because people don't know how much their cost to sell is. So they got a $200,000 house. They think that they're going to pay the realtor 6%. They're going to pay their $12,000. They're going to get a $188,000 check at the closing, and they're done. And they think the realtor is going to do all that work for them. They're not going to have to do anything. They feel like they paid the realtor 6% so they can do all the work, and all they have to do is show up at the closing and get their check. And that's what they actually think. How do I know this? Sit with 3 or 4 or 5,000 sellers, nose to nose, toe to toe, and hear the same story almost 97 or 98% of the time. Yeah, right? So you just...
And it's never good stories.
Yeah. I've never... In fact, I can't even remember. I tried doing it the other day when I was driving. I can't even remember somebody telling me a good story about a realtor. In fact, when I do next time, I'm going to record it. Mm. Just so I have it.
Hang on.
Yeah. I'm going to like...
Say that again?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let me get my recorder out. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you are actually happy?
That's great. Right. And again, there are good realtors out there. It's just so often than not, they're not
my
trained,
realtor,
they're not,
Mine did 71 houses last year, and she told me the other day she's on track to do 90 this year.
Yeah, and there are some very amazing realtors that really do function as the consultant.
Right.
They know their stuff. They're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but you need to do work to know that that's not all of them.
So I always say my realtor. Let me just kind of like, I probably shouldn't do this, but her name is Pat Meregi. She works for Berkshire Hathaway in North Haven.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you
want
go.
to call her? Go for it. Yeah. I don't know why I just did that, but
Yeah.
there you go.
No
You know.
filter.
Yeah, no filter today. Yeah.
There are definitely some powerhouse. Can I drop a name?
Yeah.
So Ruth and Sam Ratner out
Yep.
of Cheshire.
Yep.
Powerhouse.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
I've not used them, but you've
they're
used them.
powerhouses. They're so professional, and they know their stuff inside and out.
Yep.
So
Good. So while we're on realtors, what's the pre-qualifier for a realtor? Do you remember, Pete?
Yeah, how many
Yeah.
houses they sold this last year?
yeah.
In the last 12 months, how many houses have you closed on? Not sold.
Mm-hmm.
Closed on. How many
Mhm.
houses have you closed on?
Mhm.
And if they say 12, they're a good realtor.
Oh, 12,
Right.
okay.
They're a good.
Really?
Well,
12?
they're considered a good realtor
One a
in
month?
the industry. Yeah.
Wow.
But if they're heading
If they're
up
less, then they're just. Go ahead.
right. But like your realtor and also like the names that Ruth and Sam. I mean, they're well over a 50.
Yeah.
So they're like
Yeah, if they're not 40 or 50 in my eyes, then
yeah.
and like my realtor is not. She's the face. She's got her husband and an assistant, and they do all the work.
Yeah.
She's just the brains in the face. She's kind of an attractive woman, and she knows how to deal with people, and she's a negotiator.
And she's strong too. She's not a pushover.
Yeah, she's
Mhm.
she's a good
She knows her
negotiator.
stuff.
Yeah.
I
Same
once
thing like your team. They
Yeah.
probably have the two of them and an assistant. And,
Husband-wife team. They have
Yeah.
an assistant.
Yeah.
And it's their team is
and
growing.
each knows what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they did what they do. Tell me.
Last I checked, it's over 50 houses.
Yeah.
I know that their goal is 100 as
Yeah.
well, but the bottom line is they're a powerhouse and they're out there. So
Right. Okay, so that's all the mechanics. We haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of what you dropped a hint of earlier, right?
Oh,
Right.
folks, we're out of time, but we'll cover it next
we
week.
got 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes.
we got 10 minutes. The
So
wealth of
It's grand finale.
yeah, so flapping your lips, we hinted to that. And what did you say? The words,
the wealth of words.
the wealth of words, right?
Wealth is in words. I think. Yeah. Wealth is in words.
I'm here to tell you that I personally have made millions and millions of dollars in real estate. I've not kept it all. I've not, when I mean millions, I'm talking about not profits, just I've done millions and millions of dollars worth of real estate, right? And every deal that I've ever made came from my words. I'm going to tell you right now, my personal opinion, and I'm not saying I like them or dislike them. I'm not taking sides because I don't do that. But Donald Trump is president because of his words. He stood in front of people and he said the right thing. He said what people wanted to hear. And I don't care what the TV says. I don't care what anybody says. He got voted the president. That's his result. It doesn't matter what people say.
He's
Now-
there.
Yeah, now one of the most valuable things I think I did in life, and I kid you not, one of the most valuable things I did in life was raise my two daughters. Okay?
That's
And that's
very
just a
honorable.
proud daddy thing.
Yes.
But I will tell you, both of them turned teenage, and one of the lessons I taught them immediately is look, don't listen. And I told them that every little boy in the neighborhood is going to try to get in their pants. It's just because they're both attractive girls, right? And I taught them, look, don't listen. So don't pay attention to his words. Pay attention to what he does. If he tells you he's going to pick you up at 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon and take you for ice cream, then pay attention to what time he shows up and what kind of ice cream he bought you. Don't pay attention to what he said.
Right.
Excuses.
Oh my gosh, this happened, that happened.
And some of the best people I know, which will remain nameless, that's what I'm trying to say, are very close to me and have the uncanny ability to create drama to deflect their lack of doing this.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I am here to say publicly, the fastest way that you can build trust with your clients is not a big thing. We haven't talked about this in a long time.
No, and that was a huge lesson. I loved that.
The fastest way to build
great.
trust with your seller is to, number one, always give them 2 to 3 things to do, or have a to-do list. You do this, I'll do that.
Yeah.
When you leave the conversation or you leave them physically. So it's like, Naomi, so all right, so we agreed on $100,000 and I'm going to pay you $500 a month. I need to do a title search. In the interim, I'm going to go to the town hall and check the variance on the deed. What I need you to do is call the tax office and tell me how much the taxes, how much you owe for the taxes.
Right.
Can you do that tomorrow?
Sure.
Good. So then what time you think you can call me and let me know that you got that done?
Ooh, it's getting fine time. So 2 p.m.
Okay, good. So what have I just done? I've set up agreements on what we're going to do.
Parameters.
Yeah, parameters.
Yeah.
So now if Naomi doesn't call and get the taxes handled tomorrow when I call her at 4 o'clock because I haven't heard from her, what am I going to immediately think?
More suspect than prospect.
It's a really good indicator. Yeah.
And if they are a prospect, they're not easy to work with. It's not going to start good or end good.
So pay attention to what they do, not what they say.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's lesson, I think, a huge lesson. Lesson number 1 as far as I'm concerned, right?
And for anything in life.
Yes. Right?
People.
So I instilled it in my children, who have, I think, done a good job picking their spouses and have not had a lot of problems with that kind of stuff. So I really do believe it's because that's a major, major rule. Because a lot of people, not even that they're lying, they really think at the moment when they're telling you they're going to do it, that they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They just didn't think it out. They didn't think of the details. They didn't realize what was entailed. When Naomi says, I'm going to call it, she didn't think, I'm going to have to do it tomorrow at lunchtime. Oh, shit, I got to give my daughter a ride to school at lunchtime.
Right.
You didn't think that.
Sometimes things like that can happen, but there's ways to professionally go about it.
Right.
And that would be, like, say if I had that situation, then I would contact you in the morning.
Yeah.
And I would say, Bill, I'm so sorry. I realize I have the schedule conflict. It actually will be the next day at 2 p.m.
So here's another rule, and we're kind of really, really diverting here, but another rule is don't give somebody a problem without a solution.
Exactly.
Right. Now, it may not be the right solution, but try not to give them a problem without a solution. So you call up and say, I forgot, but I'm going to do this instead.
Yep.
Okay. Now, here's the magic. The magic is that you do this 3 or 4 times with somebody. You tell them you're going to do something, and then you do it, and you've built trust. So trust is really the matching of the words that you say and the actions that you do, and that's trust. That's how you build trust. Quickly, you build trust. Okay? So, wow, we've covered a lot so far.
We have.
So you can negotiate. So I talked about negotiating. Let's back up a little bit and recap. So before we move on to the last thing. So I said you would think most sellers would want to give up their equity, which we talked about, or we are talking about. And you don't need to be a slick salesperson to sneak the equity past them. Well, if you do the cost to sell worksheet with them, right? That's just math. That's how it works. And if you talk to them the way you're supposed to talk to them, and you say things that you're supposed to say because you're sincere, then they will pay you that equity to sell their house, because they're going to pay somebody else that equity anyways. They're going to pay the realtor and the lawyer and all the other people. And a lot of it can be done by you, and you collect those fees.
Yeah.
Okay? So that said, that's the mathematical negotiation of how you don't have to be a slick salesperson. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about, or the last thing I want to talk about, is the power of the words that Naomi's talking about, right? So let me get out a few notes here. So like I said to you before, what I say is once we get to the equity, so that's, those are magic words. Why are they magic words? Well, because I bought a lot of houses saying it.
Yeah.
So it's my results that gave me those words. Okay, so I have some that I learned from Ron LeGrand. I have some that I learned on my own. So I'm just going to kind of give you some of them. So here's one. If I pay all cash and you close, I have attention on something. So saying some of these things, like when you finish filling out the form the cost to sell worksheet, or even on the telephone when you're talking to them, if you say these magical words, things will change. And I can tell you one for one, every coaching student that starts to get success is when they hit this milestone. They realize, Peter's smiling because he knows it's true, they realize the words that were manufactured work and they start getting deals. When they stop changing the words themselves in the sentences themselves, they start making deals. So these are not words, these might be words I've made up or I've tested, but I'm not giving them to you for any other reason other than I've gotten, a vast majority of people that answer these questions give the correct answers. And I've joked quite a bit. In fact, it didn't become a joke for quite a while that I don't even make offers on houses anymore. What I do is I make the customer give me their offer.
Exactly.
Right? And Naomi's seen me do that.
Get into their world, ask them,
All right, so here are some of the sentences. We don't need a lot of time to talk about them. I'm just going to kind of rattle them off. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you, this is the unfiltered part. Because I have coaching clients that pay me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars weekly sometimes to help them with these words. So I'm going to just give them away for free because I want people to understand that they really work. All right? And it's not that I'm giving them away. I just want to make a statement here that if you don't use some of these words, you will not close on houses, or you will close on less and make less money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
or
here
pay
we
too
go.
much.
Or pay too
Mm-hmm.
much, yeah. So here's some magical words. If I pay you all cash and close quickly, what's the least you would accept? And that's followed up with, is that the best you can do? Now here's what I do after that. And this is a major one. There's a lot of technology behind this. We're not going to cover that because we could talk a whole hour on some of these questions, why they work. This is what I call a takeaway. Okay, it's a takeaway sale. So I'm going to do it again. If I pay all cash and close quickly, what's the least you would accept? So let's just do a P. Let's just do role play.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter, if I pay all cash and close quickly, what's the least you would accept?
140.
Is that the best you can do?
I suppose I could do 135.
Is that the best you can do?
Yeah, I don't want to go much lower than that.
So you're saying if I don't give you the 135, you won't sell the house?
Well,
see what that last question does?
Well,
you see what it does? It's a total takeaway.
Crap.
It's like I just put a vacuum in the room. Like, oh shit, I just lost them.
Maybe he'll take. Well, what were you thinking?
See what just happened?
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
because that's exactly how it works.
But
Peter's not role playing. He's actually
right. He's actually sweating a little bit. You know.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, geez, maybe he'll buy it for 132. I'm now selling the house for $3,000. What will you do? I don't know.
Even
you tell me
the thing of
something.
Like, what's the best you can do? The terminology is so different than, I want a lower price or something. It kind of makes it like, prove yourself to me.
Well, it starts with what's the least you would take. Then is that the best you can do?
I know.
Isn't that interesting?
I know.
The least and the best?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I noticed that.
That's interesting.
I noticed that. And then the third...
Because you're not insulting them by saying it's crap. Like,
and then the last question is so powerful on its own. Like, so you're saying, if I don't buy it from you for $135,000, we're not going to do
Okay, so let's do another one. I'll do this one with you. So you
I'm going to start sweating.
You pick some high number. Say
you're on the radio. It's on TV.
Say the house is worth $200,000, and you pick some high number, and you're stuck on the number. And, And the point that I want you to make, the point that I want to make here is that I'm not happy with your number. So what do you do when you're not happy with the number? Mm-hmm. So Naomi, so if I pay all cash and close quickly, what's the least you would accept?
200,000.
Is that the best you can do?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying if I don't give you 200,000, you won't sell me the house?
Well, maybe like 180,000.
Yeah, stick to your number.
You want me to?
Yeah.
That's right. 200,000.
So
I think it's worth it.
So what do you do? See, now as an investor, what do I do?
See ya.
No. Watch this. And I don't use this enough, Peter. I want you to know I'm actually gonna use this more often myself.
All
so
right.
I don't use this enough. You ready?
Let's see what you got.
What's your second choice?
Oh. Well, I'm gonna sell it myself.
See what happened? Now,
Make sure
the way I usually do it, and not because there's a couple different ways, is it's a little bit longer. So I said, so you're saying if I don't give you $200,000, you won't sell me the house?
That's right. It's worth $200,000. Look at these solid wood floors.
So what I often would do is I would fumble around and say, so what are you going to do with the house if I don't buy it? But I like, what's your second choice even better?
Yeah, I like that better too. I'm not sure why. I need to mull it over, but there's something about it.
Because because I'll tell you exactly why. Why I think anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Because in your head, you're negotiating and you're trying to get your highest price.
Yeah.
But you do have a plan B.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to you, what's your second choice? Because I know you have I know you have something else in your mind.
Absolutely. You probably have plan B, plan C, and plan D.
And I'm calling it out.
Yeah.
Now, how about this one? Because I get this one from coaching clients a lot. So, and I have no trouble with this. And the reason why I'm talking to you is because you may not do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
So the seller won't give you a number.
Oh yeah, that's happened for sure.
That's a good one.
Right.
I don't think we run into that in a while, but I remember that one from a while back.
Right.
Yeah, some people. Yeah. Well, you give me a number.
So So
They
the
think
rule
they're
is the rule is the person that talks first, right, loses the most.
Yeah.
Right. So a good rebuttal for that is, how about $1? So let's do it. So how much do you want for the house?
You give me a number.
Yeah. How about $1?
What?
So here's the words.
I need at least $250,000 for this house.
So here I'm going to give you the words, and then I'm just going
right.
to read them. So because we're kind of out of time. So
Okay.
I simply have too many prospects to work with to waste time on those I can't buy. If you'll tell me what you're asking, I'll know quickly if we can do business. Isn't that fair?
So you say the dollar first.
Just to get their attention.
Just to get there, yeah.
So what I usually do is pick a stupid number.
Yeah.
I've heard you say like just a number, but really like 100,000 or 75, like some like a bad
like
number.
10 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then I'm a little bit more direct with it, and I'll be like, look, here's the deal. It doesn't matter what I'm going to pay for the house. It only matters what you're going to sell it for. So if you want to do the negotiating game, then we can do that. But don't you think that's going to be a little difficult? Because I've bought a lot of houses.
Kind of throw your weight around a little bit.
If you want to do that, then go ahead.
Yeah.
But it's going to be much simpler if you just tell me what you're looking for. So it just depends on the situation you're in, and your personality and
their personality. Yeah. Absolutely.
I have a coaching client in Oregon, Washington, I think. I don't know where she's from. She's out west, and she's got a bubbly personality. So I was with her last week, and I was coaching with her, right? And I said to her, you have a major problem. Matter of fact, you got a major problem in life. I don't know if you know this or not. She said, really? I said, yeah. I said, I know because I've seen it. I've had it happen to me. I know people like you. She goes, what's my problem? She's like laughing. I said, you're cheerful, chronically cheerful. And most people can't have that. They think you're fake because you're just happy all the time. And most people can't be happy all the time. So they don't believe you. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to call back this prospect that we were talking about, and I want you to mirror their personality. If they're angry, you be angry. If they're hostile, you be hostile. If they're in pain, you be in pain. Whatever it is, just mirror it.
Yeah.
And she called me back and she's like, oh my God. She bought the house.
Yeah.
And that's all she did was mirror their personality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, people. When I call people, if they pick up the phone. Hello. I go,
Right.
hello. I just whatever.
Yeah.
On hello. Just to start the conversation. You can go from there, but start somewhere.
Absolutely.
So let's close out with a couple good more sentences. Okay. I don't think I said that right. Let's close out with a couple nice, good sentences. I'm going to tell you that this is the hardest sentence that you will learn in my system or in my listening to my stuff, but it will make you the most amount of money. Ready?
Let's go.
Are you willing to sell the house for what you owe on it?
That's a good one.
When should you ask that question? Always.
You should ask it. There's some people that put,
we have rules.
numbers to it. 30%.
We have
of
rules.
equity, but
But if you got balls, just ask it all the time.
yeah. What's the worst they can say? I only owe,
Obviously-
they'll say no. Okay.
Obviously, if the house is free and clear and they're asking $200,000, you can't have it.
Right.
If they owe $30,000 on a $200,000 house, that's obvious.
Right.
But if it's anywhere within range, go for it.
Yeah.
Because what I followed up with is, so what would you take?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the question is, would you sell the house for what you owe on it?
Mm-hmm. They say no.
Say, okay, what would you take?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're starting from whatever that number is instead of this number. You're starting at
It's
something.
it's actually reverse from what I normally talk about, and that is, I'll ask somebody if you had a magic wand and could wave it over this deal, what would you want to have happen, or what were you expecting to happen at the closing? How much of a check were you walking away with? This is reverse because I would say, will you sell the house for what you owe on it? They say no. What would you take? And then I would say, so you're looking for a 10 grand profit? I reverse it.
Mm-hmm. You're still finding out what the equities that they're trying to get.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh my goodness. Okay. Another one which is really important, and then we're going to end off. I always make sure that I tell people if this doesn't work for both of us, then we don't want to do the job. I mean, we don't want to do the business.
Mm-hmm.
And what can it hurt if we get together? If my offers don't, this is very important. If you don't like my offers,
Mm-hmm.
you won't offend me. There's no salesmanship. There's none of that. We could just part as friends. I'm okay with that. Because one thing, and this is the magic words. One thing that I have noticed after buying a lot of houses is not everybody accepts my offers, and I'm good with that. So I know I need to make 5 or 6 offers before I'll have somebody, or 10 offers before somebody says yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're actually helping me by letting me make an offer. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, so I don't have to be under pressure.
So you're telling me the truth works?
Yeah.
It
is so strange that you're just telling people to be honest and tell them the truth.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talk to people and I ask questions, I'm trying to get something done. When they give me a line of baloney, I can't handle it. I'd rather them tell me the truth, like I just didn't want to or something. In life,
Mm-hmm.
I can have whatever the truth is. If you're making up a story, it won't go away because it's not the truth.
Right.
Not crazy.
Right.
He's saying tell the truth in real estate
Mm-hmm.
and succeed.
It works.
So how about this one? So suppose, watch this. This to me, this is just the cat's ass. I mean, you can't get better than this. So
We're just
Naomi
on
doesn't
cats
like
today.
Huh?
We
I'm unfiltered
have a few
today,
cats out of the bag, and now we have.
right? I'm unfiltered today, right?
He likes
And
cats.
the cat has an ass.
We found out he likes cats.
Watch this. So Naomi, would you sell the house for what you owe on it?
No.
Okay, what would you take?
Let's see. I mean, I want to sell it for $200,000. I mean, I
Okay.
think that's market rate.
Okay. So anyway, so we go through all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wasn't expecting to do that. So suppose I were to get the $200,000 house down to $170,000, and I want to buy it subject
Wow.
to.
Well,
Okay, so you say yes to all that. Okay,
Okay,
so I'm
yes.
like, okay, so we're all good all that. So here's the point that I want to make. So how much are your monthly payments?
they're $1,200.
So I'm going to pay $1,200 a month until you're paid off, okay?
Oh gosh, that's great.
That's the magic words. So I'm just trying to get the right scenario.
Right.
I don't mean to be picking on you,
Right.
but I want to get the right scenario. So you asked him, how much are your monthly payments? $1,200.
Yeah.
And I'll be a little bit more inquisitive about that. Like, so
Mhm.
does that insurance and taxes and
Any
anybody
liens,
Any other expenses,
any other
monthly,
expenses,
no
monthly
charge.
expenses? Okay, good. So I'm going to pay the $1,200 until you're paid in full. I want you to know that I did dozens and dozens and dozens of deals, God knows why, telling people that I would get them paid off in 5 years and 7 years and 3 years. I would get them paid off.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed to that, and all of a sudden, look at the house that I'm only saying it because you were there,
Yeah.
that we bought on Side Hill Road that the course is all about, right?
Right.
When do we have to pay the mortgage off?
We don't. Yeah.
We just keep making the monthly
Right.
payments.
Last payment.
We got 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was because I used that sentence. So we're going to pay $15 a month until you're paid off, okay?
Right.
And if somebody were to say how long, you could
Well,
negotiate
how
if
long
you
is
had to.
how long is a note?
What if they say? Well, I'm saying if they don't want to wait
I mean,
15 or 20 years, what do you do?
But here's the thing. The only person that's going to ask that is the one that's getting something out of the house. So if they're getting equity, like they're getting 10 grand or 5 grand, they want to know
Right.
when they're getting their money.
Sure.
If you're doing a subject to deal and you're taking the house over
It doesn't
and
matter.
relieving the debt, it doesn't matter then
Doesn't
because
matter.
they want to know when can you relieve my debt this month,
Yeah.
right now.
And they'll never get They'll never, as long as they don't get anything, there's no reason to have it be any earlier than the mortgage.
And I could tell you that I amassed millions of dollars worth of real estate, millions and millions of dollars worth of real estate in about a year's time or a year and a half's time just doing subject to deals. And all I did was stick to my script, and I did 12 or 15 presentations a week, and I just bought the crap out of houses. And I had to learn these other ways because I didn't know any other ways, and I was giving deals away. I wish I could go back in time because I was giving deals away because I didn't know the stuff that I know
Right.
now.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't a subject to kind of deal, but
I
you didn't
just
have
passed.
slot or lease. Yeah.
I didn't even do lease options. I just did. All I did was subject to.
Wow.
I bet you my first 50 deals.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything else, but I was good at it. I bought houses,
Nice.
but I had massed, and it was just that way. You know, it was, what do you owe on the house? Would you? And I would just ask them, will you accept what you owe? That's it.
Wow.
Okay. So we're way over. We're 12 minutes past. Emma's being polite today. She's now flailing at me and yelling at me, telling me we're going to end. But I think we did pretty good.
Yes.
So, to summarize, constructing and presenting offers so you get the most equity. In real estate, the pot at the end of the rainbow is equity. In this podcast, we will talk about how to easily get lots of it from your seller. Did we do that?
Yep.
You would think most sellers don't want to give up their equity, or you need to be a slick salesperson to sneak the equity past the seller without them knowing it. We covered that, right?
Absolutely. Truth. Truth in advertising.
In this
Always
podcast,
works.
you will reveal exact ways to create income and wealth out of thin air. Did we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. And some of the most unspoken ways power investors don't speak of in public because it could hurt the newbie coming into business. So, do you think a new guy could handle some of the strategies that we were talking about today?
Nope.
Because they'll actually use these words, buy houses, and they'll be like, oh my God, what do I do now? And that's usually what happens. So the reason why I don't talk about these strategies in seminars and in emails and all that kind of stuff is because I have to undercut it until one day that investor gets up to the point where he's making offers and they're not getting accepted, and he's like, I got to change my words. Until that happens to the investor, he doesn't even know that he had. So you have to go through that experience before you actually get the value in what we're talking about today. If you're not in houses making offers and getting rejected, what I'm telling you today may not seem important to you. But if you listen to what I'm telling you today, before you get to that point, you'll buy a lot of houses a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And how do I know that? I went to that seminar. So with that said, we're over and out. We'll see you
Over
next
and
week.
out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.